my name's Catriona and I'm currently studying civil engineering at the University of Glasgow. So civil engineering is typically known for bridges and roads, but what I learn about is so much more than that. So the past few years I have learned from electrical engineering to environmental engineering, which includes wastewater treatment and wind turbines, to maths, engineering maths, to structural design, which is stuff like concrete and steel beams. So it's a very varied subject and I find it really interesting. So my route into engineering was not always an obvious one. Growing up, I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I don't even think I heard the word engineer until I was 16 or 17 years old. So because I was so unsure about what I wanted to do with my life, when I had to choose subjects for my A-level studies, I picked the 3 subjects that I enjoyed the most. So I picked maths, physics and media studies. So these were subjects that I really enjoyed, and I figured if I enjoy something now, I'll hopefully enjoy it in the future, and I'll go from there. So after picking my maths, physics and media, the next step was to decide what to do after I finished high school. So I decided I wanted to go to university, this because I wanted to study at a higher level, and I also wanted the opportunity to move away from home, to meet like-minded people in the same boat, and to have the student experience. So my next step was to pick which subject to study at university. So what I did was I ordered lots of university prospectuses. So these used to come for free in the post, a massive book with all the subjects that university supplies. However, nowadays, I think most universities do online versions. So if you go into Google and type, for example, University of Glasgow prospectus, it'll come up with the University of Glasgow prospectus, which includes all the information about all the different subjects they offer. So what I did was I went through these prospectuses and I crossed all the subjects that were relevant to the ones I was studying at A-level. So everything relevant to maths, physics and media studies. So I circled things such as finance, physics, maths, filmography, business studies. I really had no idea what I wanted to do. And then my next step was to go to a university open day. So university open days typically have timetabled slots for different talks for different subjects, and they usually repeat these throughout the day because they understand not everyone can make just the one talk. So the day before, I was planning on what talks I was going to go to. I had an absolutely jam-packed day with one talk after another for anything and everything relevant to maths, physics and media studies. And I just happened to come across aeronautical engineering, and I was like, that looks quite cool, and I've actually got a slot free then, so how about I go along to this talk? And so at this talk, I found it really interesting, the thought of aeronautical engineering. I'd never even considered engineering before, and what really struck me was that the person giving the talk said, with engineering, you learn such great skills. You learn problem-solving skills, you learn math skills, that you could go into a range of different subjects after you graduate. So you could go and be a maths teacher, you could be a physics teacher, you could go into finance, you could go into engineering. And for me, who I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, that sounded like a great option because it would give me so many options. So from there, I went back to the prospectuses. I had decided that I wanted to study engineering, but I didn't know which type. So I went back to the prospectuses and learned all about all the different types of engineering. I learned about biomedical, mechanical, aeronautical, civil. There's so many more different types. And from there I read about what each subject entailed, what they taught, what they learned, and I decided to go to some university taster days. So these you can apply for online and they're really great. So you go to a university for a day, you get some practice lectures, you get to meet other people your age who are also thinking about studying engineering, and you get to see a bit of what it's like to study that specific engineering at university. So I went to a couple of these for different subjects. So I went to a biomedical one, I went to a civil one, and from there I really enjoyed the civil engineering taster day. I found it really interesting what we learned about, and I thought, yeah, okay, I think I'll study this at university. So from there, I went back to the prospectuses again, very important, and I went to go pick which universities I wanted to study at. So different universities have different examination systems. So some will be fully coursework, some will be fully exam, some will be a mix of both. And for my personal preference, I like a mix of both. So I went through the university prospectuses and I threw out all the prospectuses for the ones that were solely exams and solely coursework. And from there, I narrowed down to my top 5 favourite universities. And so it was those 5 universities that I ended up going to offer holder days for. So I applied to them through UCAS, and then I went and had a bit more, it was like a more serious taster session, but at the university of your choosing, and I got to see what it was like. So from there, that's how I picked to do civil engineering at the University of Glasgow. So my favourite thing about studying civil engineering is how varied the subject is. So we learn lots. So we've learned transport engineering, which is all about highways and roads. We've learned geotechnical engineering, which is all about soil. We've also learned structural design, construction management, which is all about the business side of civil engineering. And so I really like this because if you're bad at one subject, it's okay. You're not bad at civil engineering as a whole. You could just, that subject, you don't have to go into it for the rest of your life. You usually tend to pick one type, so you might be a geotechnical engineer when you graduate, or you might be a structural engineer when you graduate. So if I really hated geotechnical, I could drop it forever, or if I really loved it, I could do that for the rest of my life. And so now that I am at university and I am studying civil engineering, I have decided that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I really enjoy it and it's really fun. But also what I enjoy about university is the student groups. So I am currently secretary for the Female Engineering Society at my university. So this is a great group of female engineers, or engineering students even, who we all work together, we have socials, get to know each other, we have networking opportunities, we have talks from speakers, and it's really great because we've formed a really great group of people who can support each other. So sometimes we'll send a wee message like, really struggling with this subject, do you know anything about it? And help each other. I'm also sitting on the University Groups Board for the Women's Engineering Society. So this is a bigger group. So we have, I think there's about 15 universities represented across the UK, and we work together and give each other advice and help each other out. So there's some newer societies at other universities, and they can ask for some help. So say if they were setting up a mentoring scheme, or even if I was setting up a mentoring scheme, we could be like, has anyone set this up? Does anyone have any tips? How did you do it? And it's a really great opportunity to get to know other people from other universities studying engineering and seeing what their experience is like. So my advice to my younger self would be to continue doing what you enjoy, because you will figure it out from there. So because I enjoyed maths and physics so much, I enjoy engineering because that is very mathsy and a little bit of physics in there. And if I had, say, gone into chemistry, I probably would have hated it. So I'd really recommend carrying on with what you enjoy and going from there. I'd also really recommend thinking about all your different options. You could consider apprenticeships instead of university. You could consider a different subject entirely. But it is worth weighing up all your options before making a final decision, because if you don't enjoy what you do, you're stuck at uni for the next few years studying that subject, which is not ideal. However, the good thing about engineering is lots of universities, their first year of engineering subjects is usually a more general engineering. So if you did want to change after your first year from civil to aeronautical, most universities would allow that, which is very handy. So I really hope you have learned a lot in this video, and thank you so much for listening.